Hello and welcome to Angry Andy Reviews, and this is my review for The Last of Us, episode 6. Now, this is a very interesting episode. It takes place 3 months after the previous episode, so a significant time jump, really. Just realised you'll have to forgive the possible echoey nature of this video. I am in the last vestige of the only place that I can find in order to record this video. But yeah, this episode takes place a whole 3 months after the incident with Henry and Sam, and we're treated at the start of the episode to, a revisit of that scene in its horrifying glory, just after Henry has shot his own brother and killed him. And then we jump to the present with Ellie and Joel in the snowy mountains. I'm not entirely sure where they are location-wise, but this episode is all about Joel finding his brother, and he does so. And there's a very touching sort of, realization when he sees him. There's, we haven't seen anything of what they've been through in the past 20 years. We've heard tales of what they've been involved with, and we get some form of explanation and a bit of a further dive into their past since the outbreak. There are some wonderful touching moments. There are some elements of conflict within both the characters, both the brothers, when they actually start talking to each other. So it's another character sort of led episode. There's no infected here. We see a bit of confrontation when Joel and Ellie cross the river of death, apparently. The episode starts off in quite a comedic manner. Joel and Ellie have arrived at some, rancher's house. There's a couple there that live alone in the wilderness, and they're quite laughing and joking about the entire situation, and they warn them, the river of death, if you go across there, you're in trouble. And when they get across there, it's Joel's brother's people, and they are sort of very protective of this wonderful town they've created. The town that you see in the video game. I think you especially see this town in the second game as well. So there's a lot going on in this episode, a lot of visual treats. Like I said, there's no infected in this. There's no major confrontation apart from towards the end. But here it's all about, Joel starting to feel a bit of pressure about the entire situation. There's a couple of moments in this episode where he appears to be having, some sort of panic attack or heart trouble, and the world seems to slow down around him. And it's very interesting. There's more layers to Joel here than quite simply this brute who's suffering from agonizing guilt and trauma. There's actually layers to him. He gets quite upset about the entire situation involving having to take Ellie, having to give her up potentially. He asks his brother to take on the reins and take her to the Fireflies. And that builds into a bit of conflict between Ellie and Joel. Ellie seems to believe that Joel's abandoning her, and there's a very heavy moment between both Ellie and Joel. Ellie sort of confronts Joel and says, "Why are you trying to leave me? Why are you going to abandon me?" And Joel says, well, to the effect of, "I've lost so much, I can't do this, you've got no idea what I've lost." And Ellie point blankly tells him that everyone she's ever known has either abandoned her or died. So again, we're getting continuous building connective tissue between these two, despite the differences, despite their age gap. They are pretty much one and the same person, really. They both have the same dreams and goals and aspirations. And Joel eventually sort of realizes this towards the end of the episode and continues on with his mission with her. After asking his brother to take the reins, he sort of interjects before they leave and sort of, takes her under his wing once again. So again, it's very much a character-driven episode. in terms of plot wise. We establish this wonderful outpost that is home to dozens of people, dozens of families, and it's a working community powered by a nearby dam. And Joel's brother basically says, look, this place is brilliant. They've got bourbon, which they drink together quite happily. And Joel's brother is, very much, saying the only thing I need now is to rear some hogs, some pigs, and I'll have bacon, and what more could you ask for? And his brother is now married and having a baby. Everything is quite cushy in this place. They fight off raiders with ease, and the infected they ever come across are dealt with quite swiftly as well. So they do appear to have a pretty well tight-knit community working together. And I think that's almost what triggers Joel. It triggers Joel into this thought process that he can't go on much longer. He's feeling his age, he's feeling his anxiety. He doesn't know if he's going to make it back. He doesn't even know if he's going to be able to protect Ellie. And so, yeah, there's a lot of conflict, internal conflict in this episode, as much as there is sort of existential conflict, the existing conflict, should I say, with the infected and with raiders. So Joel and Ellie leave this community. Towards the back end of the episode, they make their way towards the university where Joel's brother says, this is where the Fireflies were last located. When they get there, it's abandoned. And a group of 4 ruffians arrive. Obviously, Ellie and Joel attempt to escape. Joel is almost taken out by one of these people, and manages to, in video game style, dodges the attack, swiftly chokeholds him and snaps his neck. Again, there are certain elements in this show which really harken towards the video games. They know just when to do it properly, and this little sort of scenario where he beats one of these arseholes, we'll just call them, and kills him, is very, very much taken out of the game. The way the moveset and everything like that. It's very, very well done, very well choreographed as well. But Joel is injured severely in this attack. And the last sort of thing you see of this episode is Joel collapsing off a horse and Ellie sort of covering him and trying to wake him up. And the episode ends there, leaving us with the air of mystery of what's going to happen. Obviously, yeah, it is what it is. But again, this episode is like I said, a very much character-driven episode. It's not very pacey. It's not very eclectic or action-orientated as the previous episode was. But it's still top-tier character-driven drama. The writing is still superb. The acting is pinpoint. Yet again, the quality of writing, the quality of the dialogue, and the quality of performances is just driving this series, beyond the action. And I know there's complaints out there about, where's all the infected and all this. Well, it's not all about that. The show's called The Last of Us, meaning the last of the people. So, we need to see what these people are doing, how these people get by, their struggles, their internal struggles, their existential struggles. And we're getting that. I think the show feels better for it, that we're really diving into the character trauma, the individual needs, the wants, desires. And Joel talks about, how he wants to own a sheep farm, but really deep down, that's not what he wants. He talks later on about wanting to be a singer when he was younger. We're getting some really tasty character elements here that we, fleshing out information that we already knew about these characters from the video games. And it's refreshing that we're getting such quality writing, doing justice to characters, giving them more breadth than the source material. I think for me, this is another really good episode. Again, it's slower paced, it's much more methodical, it's much more character orientated, like I said. But it's a solid 8 out of 10 for me. an absolute solid 8 out of 10. Again, the cinematography is superb. You know, the way that the set is designed, the environment is crisp, it looks beautiful, and yet there is still that, even in the pure white of this snowy location, there's still the threat, the unnerving hanging threat over these characters. When they're going towards the university, Joel, you can see Joel tense up, and we don't see what he sees at first, and he says, "There's nobody here. The university's abandoned." So you see him tense up first. You see his reaction, and then we're shown what he's seeing, and it's the ability to go from jokiness, light-hearted banter back and forth between Ellie and Joel, and then straight into this. Right, we're going to have some kind of conflict here. There's something wrong here. And it makes you nervous as a viewer. It makes you, tense up and question and worry about what's going to come. And very few shows are able to do that. The Walking Dead, once upon a time, did that. But the show's doing it 100% of the time, every time. So it's a great credit to the actual show itself. But yeah, solid 8 out of 10. And that's really all I've got to say about that episode. It's an interesting one. We are getting towards the end game now, I think, of this season. I'm not sure how many episodes there are. Are there 10? I don't know. But there we go. We are coming towards an important part of the show, important part of the game. There are still bits and pieces that haven't been explored yet. Whether they're going to do that or not, is an interesting thing to be aware of and to look out for. But we'll see what happens. My memory's a bit saggy around the middle of the first game. But yeah, so there we are. A nice little 8 out of 10. And I will see you on the next one. Thank you very much for watching. If you did like this video, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more reviews of this kind, possibly in a much better location, where there's better acoustics and I'm not echoing like I'm in a tunnel. But thank you very much. Bye-bye.